spirit world is everywhere in Thailand, where animism and folk beliefs are deeply infused with Buddhism. Most buildings boast a spirit house, a shrine placed in an auspicious corner of a property, where offerings can be made to appease ghosts, lest they turn malevolent. For much of Thailand's soothsayers, astrologers, and its huge monastic network, belief in the superstitious is undoubtedly lucrative. Exorcisms, protection spells and trinkets are all readily available at a price, while books and films about haunting spirits are hugely popular. Businesses often pay monks to make annual visits to chase away evil spirits. Thais believe a violent or unexpected death is more likely to result in the creation of an angry ghost when a soul departs, a common belief across many cultures. Ghosts are believed to frequent, amongst other places, certain trees, burial grounds near Buddhist temples, as well as abandoned houses. A spirit house is a shrine to the protection of a spirit of a place that is found in Southeast Asian countries of Burma, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam and the Philippines. A spirit house is normally in the form of a small roof structure and is mounted on a pillar or a dais. They can range in size from small platforms to houses large enough for people to enter. Spirit houses are intended to provide shelter for spirits that could cause problems for the people if not appeased. The shrines often include carved statues of people and animals. Offerings are left at the house to appropriate the spirits. Very common, they will include a bottled fizzy drink with a straw. More elaborate installations include an altar for this purpose. They're found outside many homes, offices, hotels, shopping malls and at roadsides. A Ramkhamhaeng Soi 32 is an abandoned home. While a former owner was away, supposedly a foreigner, a burglary went horribly wrong, resulting in the brutal murder of a maid. The owner sold up after hearing plaintive cries in the emptiness. The subsequent owner was also disturbed by sorrowful sounds and the sight of a woman pacing the hallways. The door to the garage and garden, deserted for the past 2 decades, people still report hearing ghastly screams and cries for help from within its walls. Wat Mahabut is home to Mai Nak Shrine, a memorial to a famous ghost from the local area. Tales say that Mai Nak Prakhamong or Nang Nak died in childbirth while her soldier husband was away at war, which would be the Siamese-Vietnamese War from 1831 to 1834. She presented herself as a loving human when her husband returned. He none the wiser that he was living with a ghost. When people tried to tell him, they met unfortunate circumstances, including death. Eventually, her husband realised that the wife was in fact a spirit and he fled to the temple for safety. The angry Mai Nak released her fury on the village, causing accidents, injuries and bad luck. The locals in Prakhamong discovered that Nak had died, but are scared away from the house because they can hear a ghost crying and occasionally see her image along the canal waiting for her husband. As a result, locals are terrified and steer clear of the house, paddling on the other side of the canal if they do have to pass by. A spirit is said to lurk around the temple grounds, though locals hope to pacify it by leaving offerings at the shrine. Wat Mahabut, located on Soi 77 off Sukhumvit Road, is where the shrine dedicated to Nang Nak is located. There is a statue of Nak, together with her son, as well as many paintings of her. Thais will often go to the shrine to pay respect and pray for her. for either an easy childbirth or to ease the prayers for their husband to avoid military conscription. An article dated the 10th of March 1899 in the Siam Prophet Thai newspaper referred to Amandang Nak, the daughter of the sub-district chief within Prakanol. In the article, it recounts Amandang Nak died while pregnant. She had an existing son who was worried that her father would remarry and would have to share his inheritance with a stepmother. As a result, he dressed in women's clothing, threw rocks at passing boats, and effectively created the ghost story in order to prevent his father from being able to find a new wife. Thais are so fearful of ghosts that the father would be too scared to find a new wife, and no local woman would dare to marry a man whose dead wife's ghost continues to follow him. Thai Zhong Tower, also known as Taifa Group Building in Banang, is an abandoned 32-storey high building next to Banang Trad Highway. Had claimed 5 lives from suicide to a terrifying murder. The abandoned Taifa Group office tower is another victim of the 1997 Asian financial crisis. It was never finished and never officially opened its doors. It has a tragic past of suicide, accidents, murder, and nowadays is walled off in front with sharp rusty metal obstacles and wooden barriers on the side walls and entry stairs. A family looks after the property now, prohibiting outsiders from entering. During the 20 years when it was established, 3 people had jumped off the building. One body was found with his wrists and ankles bound. He was beaten to death. A murder occurred at the tower on the August 22nd, 2012. A man that resided on the first and second floors went on the roof with his girlfriend to watch the sunset over the city and caught a foul smell, then found a body. Don't ask me how he resided there when the tower was never completed. They called the police, who came and found the man had been murdered with some sort of blunt force trauma to his head. The police suspected the man to be part of a group of thieves that came to steal copper wiring. They believed he had a falling out with a criminal group and was killed as a result. Another incident occurred when a foreigner who had recently broken up with his girlfriend was found hung from the rooftop of the building. This was on April the 2nd, 2012. A few people have snuck in to take photos on the rooftop. At the time, there were guards in the daytime, but not at night. They found a man's body hanging from a rope on the roof. Then, for some reason, they called a famous singer's friend instead of the police. The singer, Anand Anwar, then called the police. They found a credit card of his girlfriend's photo with a note written on the wall which read, "Try to remember, that was good. Sorry is not enough." The building is nicknamed the abandoned building of 5 corpses. As the building is located next to an elevated highway, motorists driving past the building at night have testified that they see a dark human figure leaping off the building, with the act repeated over and over again. They believe the spirit was reliving its death to pay for the sins of suicide. I understand that the building was sold to Chinese investors to turn into an office block. But I cannot confirm that if this actually happened. Singaporean guest claimed at Centrepoint Sukhumvit, Thong Lo Hotel, to be haunted. Experienced ghosts several times. The ghost disturbed you in the middle of the night. Very traumatic experience. One of my friends saw the ghost on top of a TV table. Then the blanket pulling. At a hotel on Nana, now known as Nana Condos, a client killed a lady and then jumped off the balcony on the 6th floor. There have also been reports from guests about a female ghost, possibly the lady who was killed. Ghosts are rumoured to haunt the grounds of the abandoned hotel near Lumpini Park. The Bangkok Hilton is said to be the home of the restless spirit that wanders the halls in search of guests to terrorise. According to a local legend, the ghost is that of a young woman who died while staying at the hotel. It's said that she became possessed by a demon whilst performing a traditional Thai dance, and that her soul was unable to rest, and it taken revenge on those who had wronged her. For years, visitors to Bangkok have reported seeing the ghost of the Bangkok Hilton lurking in the shadows of the hotel. Some say to have seen her dancing in the moonlight, while others claim to have heard her laughing, echoing throughout the corridor, throughout the hallways. Within the 142-acre Lumpini Park itself is said to be a haunted wood house in the park. At night, people often hear a shrill cry from inside the park. During the protests of the People's Democratic Reform Committee, PDRC, while the protesters stayed in the park, some protesters experienced a haunting, and a volunteer security guard was possessed at dawn. One of the most famous legends of the White Lady of Lumpini Park. The story goes that the White Lady was once a young woman who lived in Bangkok. She was very beautiful, and she fell in love with a foreign man who was visiting the city. Sadly, her parents did not approve of the relationship, and they arranged for her to marry another man. The White Lady was so distraught that she killed herself. A ghost is said to haunt Lumpini Park, and she has been spotted by many people over the years. The old wing of the Holiday Inn Silom is notorious for sightings of a long-haired woman and a child running across the corridors. Guests have even gone on to complain that the little child stood next to their bed as they slept. An abandoned house at Soi Rod Anand 1.1 is a traditional Thai house full of overgrown bushes. On Soi Rod Anand sits next to a swamp far from the other houses in the area. People believe the house is haunted by the spirit of a grandmother whose family left to settle in other provinces, leaving her to die alone. According to nearby neighbours, the spirit of the grandmother is always seen cursing at little children and trespassers. A popular local TV show once tried to film inside the house, but quickly dispersed at the sound of the old lady screaming. A Baiyoke Sky Hotel was built in 2011, towering over the famous Pratona market. It's 88 stories high and contained hundreds of rooms. Poor construction practices resulted in the death of 3 workers, who tragically plummeted to their deaths when a supporting cable broke. Today, guests often complain about strange and unexplained things, including items mysteriously vanishing, spooky noises and eerie chills. These typically include poltergeist activity, where guests claim their belongings have moved around on their own accord. Shadowy figures being sighted within rooms, and strange feelings of fear, or feeling the presence of somebody invisible nearby. During their stay, one of 4 girls was having a shower. She heard one of the other girls trying to talk to her across the toilet door. Obviously, it sounded muffled to her because of the running water and the distance to the door. The girl who was in the shower later mentioned that she saw shadows in the slit under the door when she looked out, trying to hear better. Of course, the girl who was outside said no one tried to talk to her while she was in the shower. The following morning, they found an extra toothbrush in the glass where all their toothbrushes are in. The extra toothbrush was not brand new hotel toothbrush, but it appeared to be used. First House Hotel is known to be one of the most haunted hotels in the area. You're sure to experience something unusual and perhaps paranormal. From the reported incessant late-night knockings, lights flickering on and off, and the overall creepy vibes. A fire once broke out in First Hotel in January 1988. There were more than 400 people in the First Hotel during the fire, and it took them more than 4 hours to put out the fire. 13 were killed. Unfortunately, a popular Singapore singer Shi Nai and her mother were amongst those victims of the tragedy. The Asia Hotel is directly connected to Ratchathani BTS station. There are multiple reports of ghostly apparitions. Some guests say that the Asia Hotel is haunted. There have even complained of being touched while sleeping and hearing strange noises, including cries from the rooms. Guests have also reported waking up to see ghostly figures sitting on the sofa staring at them, only to vanish into thin air moments later. A Singapore business traveller, whom always is a great source of salacious ghost stories, even in the most unlikely places, before his departure, his late mum went to a temple and gave him a Buddha encapsulated in a capsule to bring for the trip. As he was Christian, he wanted to reject, but didn't want to disappoint his mum, so he brought it with him. Everything looked fine until one day he had a shower. He came out of the bathroom and started to blow dry his hair in front of the mirror. The mirror was just in front of the bed, so naturally what you see in the bed is a reflection. Whilst blowing in his hair, he saw a reflection of a young girl sitting on the bed, looking very troubled. The girl looked like a normal human, but he was staying alone. He turned around to check who it is, and there isn't anyone sitting there. He turned back to look in the mirror, and she was sitting on the bed. He became afraid and started to grab his clothing and dashed out of the room. When he reached the lobby, he realised the Buddha he kept in his pocket of one garment broke into half inside the hard capsule. Or another Singapore lady felt a portion of the mattress begin to sink, as if someone just sat behind her and put a hand on her arm. She remembered a Buddhist chant and then gathered the courage to turn around, but there was nothing to be seen. Original residence of the Thai Prime Minister, Phitsanulok Mansion, is said to have supernatural residents. Legends speak of a woman ghost wandering its halls and eerie cries echoing in the night. The haunted tales are so pervasive that some past Prime Ministers chose not to reside there, preferring other locations free of paranormal disturbances. This alleged haunting adds a touch of intrigue to the country's political history.